Hi. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, all the sustainability managers, waste management managers, circularity fans or freaks, or anyone else who joined today. It's my pleasure to host this session, this webinar today. My name is Thomas. I'm the head of the sales in Sensoneo, and today I will tell you a little more about the new standards in waste management for manufacturing, for commercial, for real estate, what the new trends are, what the new standards are. Today is not going to be about EU legislation. It's not going to be about some ChatGPT made up stuff. We will talk about, however, about actionable steps and really practical steps that you can take to make the waste management, especially waste collection in your factory or facility, more efficient, more reliable, more secure, and in the end, even more simple. It's a pleasure that today it's not only me, but I can really say that our paths cross again, and we'll have a special host, the LinkedIn top green voice, and really the guru of circular economy, Mr. Wojciech Wosecki, who will join a little later. We actually go a little way back with Wojciech. We met in Prague with one of our first projects, but maybe we will get there. Why we talk about this? Because we think that this chaotic data, waste-related data that is very high level could simply become very simple, readable, understandable, very granular, and you own it. So it's really reliable. Before I jump to the specifics and to the actionable steps that we can take, in the end, if you stick around, we do have a special gift for you. So please feel free to stick around. We'll be super happy if you do. You can obviously also ask questions, join Zoom, LinkedIn, or you can join questions and ask your questions from Slido. We will get there at the end. We'll have a Q&A session, so don't worry. We'll answer anything that will happen or will not happen or won't be answered today. Very quick intro about who we are. We are a smart waste management company, Sensoneo, and we've been doing this for a little more than 10 years now. Our solutions are helping cities, municipalities, factories, facilities, commercial clients, or even the whole countries. In 87 countries now, we have plenty and plenty of projects, more than 42,000 users. And as a side, small effect, we also run the IT part of the deposit return schemes in 8 countries now. As I mentioned, we really do focus on waste and circular economy, and we bring data to this world, and we bring data that is really specific, really detailed. So the municipalities, the clients, the governments, the commercial clients, industrial clients, sustainability managers, waste managers can actually do data-driven decisions, and they can really focus on facts, not just feelings. Just to a couple of our clients, like City of Madrid, Prague that I already mentioned, Scheffler, and a lot more others that we help with waste management with. Now, coming back to what I started with, really no generic information, really no legislative regulation and rules, but really actionable problems that and really pains that we see working with clients in the factories, in the industry, and the commercial sphere of the waste management. They are actually repetitive. And we could sort them into 2 buckets. It's the operational pain points or operational issues or problems, challenges, and the data-related challenges. Let's really cut into them deeply. First of all, they repetitively tell us, and we see that working with the clients, that the waste process is inefficient, meaning inefficient that we just don't have enough control. As a waste manager, there's not enough control. We don't really know what's happening. We don't really know what the collection should be, when it should be, and if the data that we have in the end is really precise, and if it's really detailed, and if we can take action upon those data. high collection costs are directly related to this. If I don't know what to collect and when to collect it, I just spend unreasonable amount of money trying to figure it out and collect everything and anything, not just in time, just by watching and walking around or driving around and trying to collect everything at the same time. We face, and the waste managers face, contaminated waste streams. Obviously, this is a very big issue in reaching the sustainability and ESG KPIs. Contamination of the separate waste streams, such as plastic, paper, even in the end, mixed waste, that is in the end not only mixed waste. And in the end, actually the accountability and the collector's accountability for the data. The thing happening, and what we really see that is being a big issue on the data part in the industrial waste is that we rely, and the clients rely, and waste managers rely on the external data. They rely on the data that they gather from the waste collector or the waste management company. Obviously, this data is something that you should own. It's your waste, it's the waste that you pay for, and you pay for not only the amount of waste, but you also pay for the amount of the separated waste, or the good waste that is in the end material, not the waste. If it's contaminated, you pay for it. If it's not contaminated, they pay you for it. Relying solely on the data from the third-party collectors is something that gives you no ownership, and gives you no control, and the data really is, unfortunately, unreliable. And in the end, it just does a lot of work for manual reporting, the sustainability and ESG reporting that is super manual. And again, coming back to the same topic, not really reliable and very high-level data. These are really repetitive. How to solve them? It's actually easier than we might think, or even you might think in the end. But the truth is, and let's emphasize this, the truth is that you cannot really manage, and not only industrial waste, but any kind of waste, or make really data-driven decisions unless you have data that is reliable and is highly granular, is really detailed, is not only for the whole facility or for the whole company, but it goes down to every single point of collection, in the end, bin or a bag or a place of collection. But the good thing is that there's actually 10 steps how that you could take starting tomorrow, or starting even today, if you wish. First of all, we need to digitize the data, the waste management, the waste assets, the waste infrastructure. It's an issue that's, it's actually not no one's fault. It's an issue that's happening everywhere, even in municipalities, governments. The fact that for the longest time, the waste infrastructure was quite neglected, so you never know if you have 200 bins or 210. But in the end of the collection, it does really matter. You spend a lot of time on collection of those 10 bins that you are not even sure if you have them. So just digitize the data, digitize the infrastructure. It could even be Excel, but obviously it does help if the digitization happens with up-to-date or most modern tools or platforms that allow you to visualize on map filtering and do a lot of management stuff and do a lot of remote management. Now, once we have the precise database of the waste infrastructure, which is bins, which is collections, which is trucks, let's get just a very simple technology on them. It's the step 2, putting just a basic QR code or any kind of 2D code or RFID code on the bins, on the bags. Why? Because all of a sudden you have a unique asset. And you do this for all other items within the facility, within the factory, within any kind of fulfillment center, whatever. You do this for everything else, but it's, again, waste is not always, but usually being a little neglected. Once you have a unique number for the technology, you can all of a sudden track down to every detail, to every single bin, the data just doesn't get lost. And not only the data, but the bins don't get lost because you can track and trace them. You know what happened with them. Once this happens, this is where it becomes interesting, really. So this was just a 0.0 and 0.5, I would say. But this is when it comes really interesting, because just thanks to the fact that I have a digital database now, and you have really just simple QR codes or RFID codes on your bins, you can start gathering and reporting data. Just by simple scanning, use of a mobile app, you can scan the bin. What that does, scanning the bin, is nothing. But what that actually does, you can prove the collection of the bin, so you know that the bin was collected just by simple scanning of the bin. You can report all of a sudden whether the bin was actually full or not, whether it needs to be collected or it doesn't have to be collected. And you can also report the contamination of the bin. If it was contaminated, it wasn't. And you are getting the idea that now you can do it for every single bin. So you're getting data, really detailed data on every single bin in every single location during even the time, specific time stamp or time during the day, so you know which shift, which people, who's doing better and who's doing worse. Get control of the waste data. Step 4. Coming back to one of the pain points, relying solely on the third-party or waste collector data, mainly for the weighing data, is the data that you paid for, or is the waste that you paid for. So it's always on the tonnage or kilograms. If you solely rely on that, you are giving yourself out to their data and to whatever they say that then you need to pay. There is a simple way. Almost every site, industrial ones, and if not industrial ones, can get a very simple industrial scale, platform scale that you can see. And thanks again to the asset management and to having every unique container or bag with a unique ID inside my facility, I can all of a sudden put every single bag on the weight and have very precise data on the waste production, waste contamination, because I reported that. And at the same time, I have the ownership. I control the data. I'm the supervisor. It's my data because it's my people. So I don't rely solely on someone else. It's the data part. What this allows, as a step 5, is to get the waste collection efficiency under control. And this is something that is really a game changer in terms of the operations. Once you have the digitized inventory, you don't have to, and you use very, very simple technology, which is, for instance, the buttons that you see. It's just a wireless button, really, that you can press. You can all of a sudden stop with the frequency collection. You can stop, or the waste collectors and the staff can stop running around checking if the bins are full and wasting time, but simply follow the process of getting the waste collection on request. This can obviously be fully automated. It's not really a step 6, but sort of a variation to the step 5, because you can totally automate it through a technology, through field level monitoring, which, by the way, is not applicable, let's be honest, it's not applicable for all the waste types or all the bin types or on all the collection points, because they're just simply physics that you cannot really lie. So there's physics limitations and you cannot really place it everywhere. But in case where you can actually monitor the fill levels, and all the collection requests can become fully automated all of a sudden, because you can see how full the bin is. You have eyes, and you can online in lifetime see how full the bins are. And why that's important, because all of a sudden you can do fully automated waste collection, meaning you can do fully automated planning, just based on the fact that you know which bins are full and which bins are not full, which bins I have to visit, where I need to go. I don't have to check anything, and I know exactly what to plan and how to plan. And in the end, it allows me to do just-in-time waste collection, which is a standard procedure in everything else, in every other aspect of especially in the industry, but not so much in waste, because there's simply no technology, or the technology is just not being applied to the waste, but it could be, and it's there, and it's very easy, where you can just collect the waste just in time. Again, saving a lot of time, which is in the end saving a lot of money. What obviously that creates is that now, if you think about it, if you think about the waste collection, and now I have everything not only digitized, but I can really collect only those things that are needed. I can see and trace all the bins and everything that happens with the waste inside my factory. I can do changes. I can analyze what's happening with the bins. I can analyze whether there's some locations where I need more bins or where there's some locations that I need less bins. I can analyze what locations are creating more contamination, what shifts are creating more contamination, which people are creating more contamination, where is the real problem, where is not the real problem, not just on the whole facility having data that I don't have ownership of, but really owning the data to very granular level on each and every location, even within the facility. Not to mention that in the end, it creates automatic, fully customizable, lots of data points that you can directly use for the sustainability and ESG reporting to not only to report just so we can report, but to really take actionable steps on how to increase your sustainability KPIs, such as waste diversion rate or decreasing contamination, and at the same time, understanding how I can take measures and where I need to take measures in order to decrease my overall waste production, which Wojtek will talk a little more about very soon. Now, there's a lot of theory, but the good thing is that we have our colleague Roman in a facility live, so he can actually show you what this means and how this can be applied and how this can be used in a real facility. Roman, I hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Thomas, for handing it over. Everyone from the studio, as you can see right now, we are in the factory trying to show you the example, how it's done really in practice from a place where our solution is really applied. We will just try to show you on a very easy example of one plastic bin. The entire process starts with monitoring the bin full level, which is either done by an ultrasonic sensor, which you have seen already, or the smart button, which is also connected to IoT networks. And as I pushed it at the moment, the signal is being transferred through the network to the people who need to be informed and alarmed that a certain bin in the factory is full and needs to be picked up. So as you can see, it's really full, so the employee who pushed the button was correct to do so. If I am the collector who is really, sitting and waiting to know which bins are full, I have this phone, this scanner with our application, and I see there is a plastic bin in this location that needs a pickup, and I take it with me and go to a certain location. Once I come to the location, I open it up, I see there is only plastic inside, no contamination, and I see that it is really full, not like a false alarm or something like that. So this is what I click in the application, as you can see very easily, to put the data in the database. Once I'm done, I take the bin with me to the next phase and move there together with the bin. The second part of the entire process is weighing or scaling the bins with the waste. As you can see, this is a very classic industrial scale, which is part of almost all factories. And what the application is asking me at this moment is to make the connection between the QR code of the bin that I'm scaling and the QR code of the scale that is here. If you have a very similar example as this factory and there is only one scale, it is already pre-configured through Bluetooth that it's connected automatically. So what I do is I just scan the QR code on the bin, the scale is already connected automatically, and it shows the kilograms of how much the bin, the waste inside, is weighing. this information is once again transferred into the software, and we are ready for the final stage of the entire process, which is the disposal. The disposal for, I believe, most of your factories is in the outside area, such as here, where the waste haulers, the waste companies just stay to take out the waste. As you can see at the moment, we are in the disposal part of the application. We already see that we are throwing away or disposing of the yellow plastic trash with a certain kilograms that were assessed to it at the scale. Therefore, the application just asks for final stages, final steps, which is once again making the connection of what I'm throwing away and the place of where I'm throwing it away in. If it happens that someone scans, for example, a wrong QR code, and they try to throw the, let's say, plastic waste inside paper skipper, it will inform them that they are making a mistake to correct it, so they take the waste inside the correct one. And at the moment, once the trash is already disposed of in the final part, final skipper in the outside area, the entire process is done, and the collector can return to the place where he is working and just waiting for more signals from either sensors or buttons to inform him that he is needed once again. And with that, I'm putting the word back to the studio. Thank you.
Roman, thank you very much. This was a great experience. Just to add on to that, it really is quite simple. Even for the waste collectors, not specifically used to this kind of operations. It sounds like it's plenty of new things. Not so much, honestly. It's a couple of clicks within an application that is quite, I would say, quite simple to even train those people. And from our experience, it really isn't a big hassle for anyone, even the waste collection people or anyone within the facility, to actually operate and to train on this and use this sort of system. But in the end, it does create a lot of value. So when it comes to the new trends, and I'm trying not to make this up and sound like that this is everything that is a new trend, or this is a new standard for everything or anything that you can think of, but we really do see it firsthand because we are in the waste collection part of the business, and we are there day to day, and we see that actually the new standards these are the new standards, and it's actually tracing the waste production down to every single bin, every single collection point, every single time stamp, so we can make informed decisions. It's dividing responsibility for the waste production, meaning that I can really now trace back to almost virtually to every single person, although it's not that we want to trace this to the person, and it's not, but you can trace down to even a single shift and single operation area. So you can divide responsibility for the waste production within different buildings, within different shifts, within different locations, even on the floor, even within the hall. You can go for the whole site. You can go for the whole big location. It really is variability of the data that can be super detailed out to every single bin. That's pretty much the idea. It's the planning and controlling the waste collection for each site. So I actually can plan. I do have an overview. I can plan how to collect, how many people I will need based on the trends. I will know how many times I need the waste collector, the external one, to come and pick those bins up. It can be fully automated, and obviously I can take measures to decrease the contamination and increase the waste diversion rate thanks to the really precise and detailed data that I, as a waste manager, all of a sudden have. So how big are the benefits in reality? Let me just show you really one specific use case in the UK in the fulfillment center. So this is just data over 12-week period, although we could go more or less, but it's just so we understand. It really is pretty incredible, even in terms of contamination, that you can see that, and this is actually real data, really. This is not something that's made up. This is how it actually works, and it's quite straightforward, even in the end, that it works like this, because the decrease in the contamination is quite jumpy. The 72, that sounds like way too much, but in the end, honestly, it makes sense, because when people know that they are being watched, then they understand that not that they can be punished, but they can be incentivized if they do a good job. So they can have a tap on the shoulder, and the contamination radically really decreases. At the same time, the waste diversion rate increases for the same reasons. So people pay a lot more attention to what belongs where, because now they know that it's being traced. At the same time, and I don't want to say it's a nice bonus to have, because it's a very, very huge deal and a really big deal and a huge thing that becomes available with the efficiency of the collection. So if you can imagine the whole process that we see Roman perform, it starts with pressing the button or requesting the collection, and all of a sudden the waste collector, who doesn't have to run around anymore and actually just waits for the request to be there, and actually really in the end just waits for the app to plan the collection for him, because he just can sit around, drink coffee, and wait for the whole route to be planned for him, and then he only goes and visits those bins that need to be collected. What that creates in the end is that me as a waste manager, I have a very clear idea of the time spent with the waste collection, net time spent with the waste collection, nothing else, no side effects of it, but really just waste collection. And it radically decreases the amount of workforce I need and the amount of time I need for the waste collection. In this specific case, really in the fulfillment center, handling lots of packages and going in and out, cutting from 7 staff to 4 people staff just for the waste collection. And it's still a pretty complex operation, which radically decreases the costs for the expenses and for the personal expenses. We have a pretty new case with the Scheffler, with a very, very, very big company, who are also utilizing not only the data part, but also the sensoric part. So they go full circle in terms that they apply the technology, and this is bragging, so sorry, but I just love the case. They apply the technology for their yard area, really monitoring those big waste skip bins and compactors, so they can automate the waste collection going outside of their facility. So not on the floor, but going outside of the facility, integrating with the weighing mechanism, integrating with the scale, getting, again, the benefit of the very detailed and precise data with their ownership. Just to sum up the benefits, I've spoke about them, and I've mentioned all of them. Just to summarize, so we have a clear idea what if I apply existing technology, if I apply these, not necessarily all the 10 steps, but at least some of the steps, I can fully automate the waste collection. I can really increase the efficiency of the waste collection just by not running around and saving time, and thus saving money. I can not only automate the ESG reporting, but also increase the quality of the reporting and the sustainability reporting, because I have really very precise data. I have full supervision over the waste collection and over the waste management, because I am the owner, not the external anyone that is just providing me with the data. I have a fully digitized, easily manageable waste infrastructure. I can register the waste flow and track the waste flow from the production to the disposing in the skip bin, or even disposing later on in the stages. I am able to very directly take measures to minimize the contamination and increase the sustainability goals. And I also have higher availability of bins because they just don't tend to get overflown, and it's a security issue and a lot of issues in the manufacturing process, and also the fulfillment process, where if you don't have a place to throw your trash into, it just really is a big issue. This is mainly this workflow is mainly highly beneficial for factories, manufacturing plants, various types of facilities such as really shopping malls, hospitals, airports, offices, retail, or even in the end fulfillment centers. It would be hard to benefit. I don't want to say that it's not really beneficial for smaller waste infrastructure, but it would be hard to benefit from them because it's easier for them to manage if you have a very small infrastructure. It's not really a solution for anything related to waste, such as recycling plants, construction companies, waste-to-energy facilities, landfill operators. That is all related to waste, but this has really nothing to do with it because it's mainly focused on the waste collection part. Now, with that being said, it's obviously a very big issue to how to minimize the waste production within the facility and factory. And we couldn't have anyone better than Wojciech to provide his very expert knowledge on the topic. So, Wojciech, I hand it over to you. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Wojciech. It's yeah. Go ahead, tell us how. If I'm a waste manager, if I have a factory or if I have a facility, and really my big issue is how to decrease the overall waste production. What are the trends now? What are maybe the easiest steps that I can take? What makes the impact?
So first of all, congrats on wanting to minimize the waste production, because I think a lot of waste managers start with, okay, we need to separate this, we need to recycle, but minimization is, the most valuable step that saves the most amount of money. And then of course you need to collect, recycle, reuse, repair. And I think it starts with measuring, with understanding what you're dealing with, because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And waste management is a black hole. It's just so many people are just guessing and they're working with Excel files or not even that. And the results are, it costs too much money. The waste is just through the roof, and you're spending so much on waste management companies just, making an extra buck on actually reselling those valuable materials further instead of you.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, there's nothing to add from my side because I've spoke about it probably so much time now and so many times that we can tap each other on the shoulder, but I'm totally on your side here. So
yeah.
So tell us. So what can we? So what are actually the steps or the strategies for the waste minimization? If we know that this is really the key point here to success.
I actually prepared a small presentation for anyone listening. In case you'd be interested, I can walk you through it.
Go for it.
Perfect. So it's a funny story because the picture I'm sharing here is me in Prague. I was born and raised there. And it's about 6 years ago. In case you do not recognize me, that was before I got 2 kids. And since then, I didn't get too much sleep, but it's still me, I promise. And I'm smiling. I'm really happy there on that picture. But why? It's because I just landed my job as a circular economy manager of the city of Prague. I was an advisor to the mayor, and my role was to recommend the key measures the city should do in order to save waste and recirculate as much materials as possible. But what is our job as circular economists? What does it really mean? Well, we're busy with stuff, with resources, with materials. We're asking ourselves questions like, where did all that stuff come from? Was it made in China, or is it made locally from a recycled resource? How long are we going to use it? To what purpose is it serving? And what's going to happen with everything once it reaches its end of its life? And with these questions in mind, circular economists apply these principles everywhere they go, on a factory level, company level, city level, even nationally. When I looked at the data, because that's how it started in Prague as well. We didn't know anything about how circular Prague is, how much waste we produce across the industries, what happens with it. But once we knew, I realized that Prague is not going to go carbon neutral by just installing solar panels or banning plastic bottles. We needed to radically rethink how we operate with the materials that the city needs to feed itself, that the city needs to move its people, that the city needs to be built. And there's no better way to start than with the story of sand. Because it's all around us, right? Sand is the most common used resource on the planet, right next to the water. But the more we are, and the more we build, the more we dig. And the more we dig, the less stuff is available to us. And believe it or not, sand for construction in some places in the world is becoming a scarce commodity, while in others, the price for extraction, for mining to local communities and to local ecosystems is becoming too high. But it's not only that we mine so much, it's also about that we are horrible at working with what we have taken from the ground, with the products and the value we've created. 93% of all the cars produced in the world are parked. 93% of the time that we own them. Buildings are not that different. As I speak right now, 30% of all the office spaces in San Francisco are empty during the day, not during the night. 30% of all the offices in San Francisco are sitting unoccupied. All that steel, all that concrete, all that sand, all the glass is just being underutilized to a crazy amount. And when we're done with our resources, with our products, even if it's a plastic bottle, a factory waste, or whole buildings, we get rid of them, with a one big boom and one blink of an eye. We're throwing away all these precious resources. And without recirculating much, the whole world is only about 7% circular. That means that only 7% of resources we use on a yearly basis get recirculated back into the economy. That's the world today, the linear economy, where we take things off the ground, we make products, and we waste them at the end of their short and inefficient lives. But it's not just buildings, it's everything. Airplanes have their whole gigantic graveyard in the US. Wind turbine blades are getting accumulated on landfills around the world where corporates are struggling for solutions. There's a whole graveyard of tires, of millions and millions of tires in Kuwait, and it's been there for decades without really having any other purpose. Not much gets recycled that's sitting out there. But it doesn't need to be this way. We don't have to keep producing waste. And instead of a wasteful economy, we can have an economy where we minimize waste. We can have an economy where we use things to their full potential. We can have a world where resources flow in endless loops without losing quality. That's called the circular economy. And if you think it sounds like a rocket science, it's not, because nature has been doing this for billions of years, right? If you walk into a forest, if you walk into a park, or if you go to the mountains and you look around yourself, there is no waste. Right? There's no waste in nature. Everything flows in these harmonious cycles. Everything is serving a purpose. And when one organism dies, it serves as food for another process. The challenge is to apply these principles into the world of humans. How we design our products, how we build cities, how we feed nations, how we run factories. And there's one more important disclaimer. Recycling is just one out of many tools we have in our circular economy toolbox. It's important, but it's not the whole story when it comes to circular economy, because not everything is recyclable, not everything gets recycled, not everything gets collected. We need to think bigger than that. And I'm going to walk you through 6 powerful circular economy strategies that manufacturing companies and corporates in Europe or North America are doing today to go circular and unlock the real opportunities of what the concept has to offer. The biggest reason why we're looking into circular economy is not the business perspective of that. Of course, it's a $1 trillion opportunity, but it's also the missing link to solve the climate change. 55% of all the greenhouse gas emissions generated by humans can be tackled by going renewable. If we power the world with solar, wind, biomass, water, but that's just one half of the coin. The other half of the coin are the emissions are embedded in the products that we surround ourselves with. So it's not only if this phone was made thanks to renewable energy, but it's also about what resources was it made from. Does it have any recycled content in it? Can I use it for 5 years instead of 1 year? And will we make a new phone out of this one again and again and again? 45% of all the greenhouse gas emissions in the world are hiding in the materials like steel, concrete, aluminum, and can be solved thanks to the circular economy strategies and business models. Let's look at how that looks like at the concrete opportunity of a manufacturing giant from Europe, IKEA. They have a couch, and up until right now, they've been just selling it, making 600 euros. That couch probably serves one life. After it gets broken, it gets thrown away, probably on a landfill or an incinerator. Now, IKEA wants to be a fully circular company by 2030. It's a huge goal. And in order for them to achieve that, they needed to change the whole way they look at their business. So when they started thinking in circles, a whole new world of opportunities opened up without having to redesign the product from scratch. Suddenly, instead of selling the couch just once, they realized, why don't we resell it again? There's a lot of people selling their IKEA secondhand furniture to each other. Can we be the middleman and make another 300 euros on that first sale? When the couch needs a new cover, can we add it a new cover for 160 euros and give it a third life? If a leg breaks or if it becomes broken, let's send a refurbishment service and make another 100 euros on top of that. And at the end of its fourth life, let's make sure it actually gets recycled, we get those resources back, and we make a new couch of it again. So instead of one life, it's 5 lives. And instead of 600 euros, we're talking nearly double that, 1,200 euros. That's the power of circular economy. Now, when I first learned about that, I knew it was going to be the future, and I knew it was going to be my future as well. And over the last 11 years, I have accumulated a set of powerful circular economy strategies that companies can apply on their daily, regulatory, applicable basis all around the world. And it starts with the first R, which is called retain. Maintain your products in use for as long as possible. We talked about IKEA, but there's another really brilliant example of a corporation that's selling about 40% of its products thanks to circular economy business models. It's Signify. It's owned by Philips. And for example, if you ever flew through Amsterdam, you probably went to Schiphol. That's the local airport, right? But what you don't see is that all the lights in the whole airport are not owned by the airport. The company behind the lights, Signify, keeps owning them. And they only lease them as a service of lighting to the local airport. And this completely shifts the incentives. Signify doesn't want to come there all the time and fix it, when it breaks. They want to design a perfect lighting service that doesn't need a lot of maintenance, doesn't need a lot of repairs, and the airport only pays when the lights are on. Thus, there's a lot of savings on the energy costs because they don't want to use the lights too much, and Signify can focus on creating a great product that doesn't break, and it's a win-win. The second R is rethink. Rethink how value chains are organized and phase out the bad linear incentives. Batteries for micromobility are a huge issue, right? The demand for them is skyrocketing. It's going to grow about 30% every year from here on for the next 10 years. But there are a lot of bottlenecks in producing these batteries. You need cobalt, you need lithium, which are mined in horrible, horrible conditions. And the most annoying part about all this is that when one fuel cell breaks in these batteries, you can throw that whole thing away. Gouache is a French startup that started working with the batteries that went to waste, where that one fuel cell got broken. They fix it, they bring it back to life, they keep ownership of it, they rent it to you so you can use it for as long as you want. They have full visibility to what happens with it, when it needs a maintenance, and the life gets extended to unseen scale while being profitable at the same time. The third R is regenerate. When your business thrives, nature thrives as well. My favorite example It's not really a manufacturing example, but I just couldn't resist sharing it. It's Ecosia. It's a search engine like Google, right? You use it to Google stuff. But for every search you do, everything they make from the ads they sell you, they reinvest part of that profit in planting trees all around the world. So the more you Google with Ecosia, the more you use it, the more you use their product, the more trees get planted. It's a brilliant idea. They have about 20 million daily users. They've planted 200 million trees to this day. They're literally turning deserts into forests. The fourth R is reduce. Do more with less. And that's especially applicable on a factory level as well. From the resources you need, like water, energy, or raw materials, make sure you try to reduce the need for that as much as possible. It will save you a lot of money. And Nudie Jeans is a great example of that. It's a Swedish company. It's an SME. They're kind of the leader when it comes to circular fashion. They make jeans from organic cotton, but they also help to reduce the need to get new ones because they offer free repairs forever. I'm wearing one of the pairs right now, and if it breaks, I can just walk into any store on the whole planet. They'll fix it for me for free. If I bring it back to them, they give me 20% discount on buying anything new. So it's a great customer retention strategy as well, while they're reducing the water use in their factories to the very minimum, breaking the industrial standards. Another R is reuse. Make sure products are reused over and over and over. And this is applicable especially in packaging. There's a giant behind it called Brambles, a company that you don't really see, you don't really buy things from it unless you are a supermarket or farmer, but they're powering this universe of reusable pallets, digitally connected. They maintain the ownership of them, and it's a system that is perfectly circular. It's made from recycled materials. It gets recycled if it gets broken, but most of all, it's reusable. And because they own these pallets, they only rent them to the supermarkets, and because they have full digital oversight of where each pallet is, they have insane return and recycling rates. And last but not the least, recover. When products and materials reach the end of their life or use, make sure you bring them back again and again and again. And it could be done with recycling and the right collection, but it can also be done with remanufacturing. This is another great example from Sweden. It's an engine from a Volvo truck. That engine can last about 1 million kilometers. But, you know, when one thing breaks, when one part of the engine breaks, it doesn't mean you have to throw it away. You go to one of their 10 circular economy factories they have around the world. They will fix it and refurbish it for you, bring it back to life, add a 5-year warranty, add it, and bring it back to the same quality or near the same quality as the engine had when it was nearly and freshly produced at the very start. There are so many more examples. I could go on and on and on and on. Unfortunately, we don't have time for that. So I want to wrap it up with one very important key takeaway. It all sounds great, right? But why is it not happening? What's slowing us down? And what could speed things up? Well, there was a large research done with hundreds of companies, and most of them said it's actually technical and knowledge barriers that's slowing them down. And what could speed it up is information availability. And this is a full circle, right? It's the question you asked me at the start. How can we make sure that, circular economy happens? Where do we start? To that, I would quote Kelvin, who said, "To measure is to know. And if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it." So to everyone listening today, I think you're at the right place because Sensoneo is really the world-class company in the world that's pushing circularity through data out there. Thank you so much for listening.
Wojtek, thank you very much. This is incredible, really incredible, and thank you very much. I'm a huge fan of. Obviously, I spoke about it many times that to manage without data is really like driving with the blindfold on, right? It just you just believe your gut. It's really impossible. What I take from whatever you said, I'm a huge believer in the fact that in order to be like really circular and the circularity to be really sustainable, the easiest way to go there is to incentivize this through unfortunately, even through money. Like when people don't have to think about it that much, if there's an incentive for them because it's easier to use, it's faster, it's saving money, it's making more money, and at the same time, it's designed to be circular. And there's a couple of examples like that you said, or maybe even all of them. That's really the way to go. When you stop thinking about it and you just design the whole product and the process in a way that helps people, in another way, that's the sustainability of really the circular economy. That's really what I believe. But thank you very much for the insights. I think we do have already a Q&A. My eyes are getting old. But we have a first question. Why is it important for factories to monitor waste flow and contamination, and how does this impact ESG reporting and compliance? I can pretty much easily answer that. The thing is that the contamination, so at least in EU, you pay for so there's extended producer responsibility. So even as a factory, when you look at waste, it's not always waste, right? So there's a lot of material that's actually resold. But if that resellable material is contaminated, so if I want to sell my packaging, right? So if I want to sell my PET, whatever, metal scrap, and it would be fully contaminated with other mixed waste types, my buyer would just not accept that, or my waste collector would just not accept that because they will not be able to, or the flow doesn't go in a way where they would do the separation, and they would actually charge you for it. So that's why really it's simple as that. That's why it's that's why it's important to not only monitor, but actually decrease the contamination as much as possible, and to monitor the waste flow, because it goes directly into the ESG reporting, increasing the waste KPIs, mainly the waste diversion rate. So waste diversion rate meaning how much waste I can divert from landfill, from incineration, how much waste I can divert from being a waste to shift to a material. So hopefully that answers that. If you want to add something onto that, Wojtek, go ahead anytime. If not, I'll just jump to another question. Would this solution be applicable to administrative building with offices and different tenants? Very good question, and I probably have not touched that, and it absolutely will. It's not in that case as much about operational efficiency or about the collection, but it directly implies to the tenants, and again, today, to their sustainability goals, to their waste reduction strategies and waste diverting strategies. So if you apply this to an office building, you can even in the end introduce something that's called the pay-as-you-throw model, right? Because in reality, what it works like in administrative building or commercial building, the tenants pay based on the number of square meters they have, or maybe number of staff they have, but it's usually number of square meters they own or operate or lease. So, which is not really fair in the end, because I could be I could have a huge office, but my people, and we can have a insanely good strategy on waste reduction, and I will not be incentivized for it because I still have to pay as much as somebody who's next door having a small office but creating the same amount of waste. So this is the main benefit and main incentive for the administrative building and for the facility managers of those buildings. What measurable benefits have factories seen after implementing smart waste management? I think I've talked about it on the one slide, but to get this really, to simplify it, the measurable benefit is decrease of contamination, it's increased of waste diversion rate, and on the operational level, it's really significant decrease in the amount spent collecting the waste. So significant decrease in the workload needed for the waste collection and waste management. Okay, now it's running and jumping. Wait a second. So what do you think about trend to, John is asking, what do you think about trend to divide factory to smaller groups and track and measure waste like this? Is it more efficient? I absolutely believe it is. That's one of the main issues we are seeing, really, and just from our experience, the clients that we see, that if they want to apply certain strategies, you can have really high-level all-company strategies, such as those that Wojciech mentioned. But if you then go into the actionable steps, it's always in the end, and especially in the waste collection, it's the people. It's the people who work there, and it's different buildings, different shifts, different staff, different people throwing the waste away and then collecting the waste. So dividing this into small groups and having the technology that allows you to measure this on the really small group level, it's very addressable in the end. That's the whole point. It's anything, if I can compare two groups, so if I split the factory into 2 groups or 4 groups, and I see that, okay, this one is producing less waste and is doing better in the separation and waste diversion and doing better in the contamination than this one, I can focus all my energy, not on the high-level whole facility strategy, but really on this one group that I even know consists of someone else. So it really is a trend that we see happening even within facilities and factories now. Okay, anonymous. Among the institutions that lead on circularity, how much focus is being put on innovation that are scalable or affordable for the Southern Hemisphere? Do you have anything on that, Wojciech? This is more of a institutions that lead on circularity. Is there a knowledge that you could share?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. So the Northern Hemisphere has been, promoting heavily how circular we are, what initiatives we run. But the thing is, the truth is that many of the countries and our lifestyle here is not that sustainable. I live in Sweden. If everyone lived like Sweden, we would need almost 5 planets to sustain our needs, right? If everyone would have 2 cars, 2 houses, a boat, fly is crazy. So when people mention Global South and like, okay, are we circular down there too? My reply would be, well, in many ways, Global South is an inspiration to us here when it comes to working with what's already out there, making sure more resources are used to their full potential, because the global north lives a very wasteful life, and it goes from factories to our households. That being said, the leaders, the corporate leaders and the company leaders, when it comes to circular economy, are mostly coming from Europe. But since they have manufacturing all over the world, it kind of gets transmitted everywhere as well by adjusting to local circumstances. Overall, we need this to happen everywhere. Everyone has a different starting point, but it's not black and white. We have a lot to learn from each other.
Yeah. Thank you, Vojto. I will share just one. It's not actually a question, but Lenka Vrabcová is just commenting that she wants to share experience with waste from office buildings in one company. The trash bins were just half full, but the company was paying as they were full. Standard story, yeah. Unfortunately, a classic story where that's what happens when you don't really control or supervise the waste collection or the data related to waste collection. The waste collectors tend to make their lives easy by saying it was always full and the same amount and same kilograms and same tonnage, right? You know it, Wojciech. That's unfortunately what happens. So yeah, that's something that we've been seeing for decades now, and day in, day out. So thank you for sharing, Lenka. Very, very good. Wojciech, this one's for you. How does the circular economy affect the GHG emissions in terms of scope 1, 2, and 3?
So it's especially relevant to scope 3. So of course, scope 1 and 2, it's your direct emissions. So the assets that you own, the fleet that you own, the energy that you use to power your factories. And that's mostly tackled with renewable energy. Whereas scope 3, it's relevant for all manufacturing companies. Tesla's scope 3 is 98% of its greenhouse gas emissions. Apple's scope 3 is 99% of its emissions. And that's all related to supply chain, product use, and end of life, and investments. So decarbonizing your supply chain, decarbonizing your product use is not done through renewable energy. It's done through the materials and the carbon footprint they have. So using recycled materials, using less materials, using materials for longer, can all help you reduce your Scope 3 emissions, which for any manufacturing company is pretty much 80 to 98% of their overall greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Let's wrap it up with the last one. It's a nice one. It's a question if we will be attending the Waste Expo conference in North America in May. Yes, we will. Actually, my colleague Roman that you just saw from the Corplex factory, he will be there. Maybe I will join. We'll see how the family is because I have a kid on the way. But never mind. Yes, we will. And let's wrap it up with the Q&A then. Wojtek, thank you very much. It's been incredible. And it's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope we can do this again sometime soon. It's been great. I haven't seen you in a while, and very good job that you are doing with leading and evangelizing the circular economy with a practical way.
Thank you. Well, likewise, I'm always surprised by how much you guys are doing, what you have achieved. It's a pleasure to see. Great to be here. And if anyone has any questions, would like to get in touch, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk more.
Wojtek, thank you once again. See you.
Thank you.
And for us to wrap up, I'm not sure if I have my last slides on, but I did promise you a gift, a quick one. Let's jump through the Q&A like this. Anyone find this reasonable, usable for them, feel free to reach out, book a consultation at consultation.sensoneo.com. You will get the software package and the platform, the application, free for 3 months. We can start today or tomorrow. Let's wait. Thank you very much for joining once again. I hope this was valuable for you. Again, feel free to reach out to Wojtek, feel free to reach out to Sensoneo, and we'll bring some waste-related and circular knowledge very soon again. Thank you. See you.